Hello, hello, hello out there. I know it's very late. Patrick is up. Hello, Patrick. It may just be you and me. I really have a pile of decks here that I wanted to do a video about, and I need the decks to come off of my desk. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to go live and do this. And if there are people that are still awake and come on live, then fantastic. If not, it's there for playback for people to take a look at later when they wake up. So it's just like an easy way to film and have it up so that people can take a look at this. So that is why I am randomly here and randomly live. Oh, and I'm just randomly throwing. I know it might just be you and I, Patrick. It's late for people. Like people in Europe, I know, are probably sleeping. Oh, Lou's awake. Hello, Lou. I mean, most people in Europe, I think, are probably sleeping or like winding down. Sorry, I didn't even zhuzh my hair or anything like that. I'm just like, I need to clear these decks off. So let's just go randomly live. So maybe there'll be some Americans, some Markins that come on. But otherwise, it's going to be Patrick and Lou and I. Hello, everybody. So this is too hot. Can we just talk about this adorable cup that I found? Or this mug? You can't even see the best part because, I'm going to dump this, but let me try. Oh, no, dude, it's 4 a.m. Look at that little bird. Oh, I just love this mug so much. I got it 40% off somewhere. I can't remember now where I got it from. But anyways, I was excited about finding it. It makes me smile because the bird's on my side. Oh, I would never have known that, Jamie. Hello. Hello, Mr. Lloyd. It's too hot. I'm going to burn my mouth. Just don't let me drink that for a little bit. Lloyd, yell at me if I go to drink that. There's Miss Jamie. I'm like, I don't know who Zelita is unless you tell me. Oh no, she woke up randomly at 3 a.m. to watch this video. Hello. Oh, Miss Nikki's still awake. Hello. We've got some European people here, despite the late hour. So hello. I'm going to, as always, try to keep this somewhat succinct because I do want it to be feasible for people to watch if they were to try to watch this back. So I'm going to try, at least at the first part, to be a bit on target and then could maybe ramble after that. But the purpose of this deck, if you have followed my channel for any length of time, you know that fall tends to be both a wonderful time, embrace the magical. I am going to put up an Embrace the Magical video, probably live tomorrow or Sunday. So I'll try to schedule that so you guys can see what time that is. But today isn't so much that. But there are two. Oh no, there's two different ones. Oh no, the Jamies are descending upon us and to confuse me. Oh my goodness. Okay. Anyways, if you have watched my channel, you know that the fall, while I absolutely love fall, I am a fall baby. My soul is the color of northern United States fall leaves. I love the fall so much. Of course, in the United States, it rolls off into a lot of great holidays. We have Halloween, which I love, has been a big favorite of my kids' holiday. My son's absolute favorite holiday. It was a big occasion at our house. Thanksgiving. So I grew up from about 5th grade on in a fundamental religion. So a Christian religion, but it was at the extreme end of things. And we didn't celebrate holidays after about 5th grade. We stopped celebrating Christmas, Easter, all of them except for Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving was a major holiday in my family, to the point where my side of the family exchanged gifts on Thanksgiving. And we have a massively wonderful day called Cookie Day. It is a big deal with a capital B and a capital D, just as big as Christmas. And then, of course, it rolls into Christmas. Well, unfortunately for me, my son passed away between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so that makes this time of year both a joyous occasion, but also a difficult time for me. And as soon as my birthday starts to roll around, I start to get that kind of feeling in my stomach, and that sort of underlying tension starts to roll up, because I know I'm going to hit, think about what a holiday is, right? A holiday is a condensed, it is a day with so many condensed memories you can have great highs. It can be great lows. If you have a difficult family situation, there's all kinds of a condensed energy on holidays. So for my son, who was 23 when he passed away, I have 23 years of amazing memories and difficult memories condensed into these
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
I'm not talking to you, Siri. I'm not talking to you, Siri. Anyways, you have all these condensed energies that are here. So holidays tend to be difficult, not just if your loved one passed away around a holiday, but holidays in general are difficult for many, many people. There is all kinds of excitement surrounding holidays, but then there's all kinds of stressors around holidays. If we have difficult family situations, they get amplified during the holidays. Holidays are just difficult, joyous, but also difficult. So what I have found over the past several years is that because I know this, right? This is called preemptive striking. I have a preemptive strike. I know that this is a difficult time of the year. And so for myself, as well as a wonderful one. And so I have, for I don't know how many years, I have preemptively struck by picking what I would call a hug deck or a support deck or a very healing deck for me, whatever that means to me. I will pick it out before this, right around this time when the season starts kind of ramping up. And that's kind of my deck. And especially through the month of December, it's something that I rely heavily on, almost like daily readings of support. So I'm not looking for a deck to talk to me about my shadow. I know my shadows in this time of year. I don't need a deck that is going to take me to the sad places, because that is accomplished all on its own just through the nature of loss and grief and dealing with those things, right? And so I thought I pulled out some of the decks that I have used for that purpose. And I thought I would share those with you, because I know that there's a lot of other people. I'm a tarot reader by profession. And so I know that this time of year is difficult for many different reasons: lost relationships, lost family members, never having had a good family unit, coming from a dysfunctional family. Like, there's so many different ways in which this time of year is difficult for people. And so I thought it would be good for us all to preemptively strike and think about maybe a deck or two that are, for you, is supportive to you, something that is going to help kind of give you that hug, give you that lift, give you that peaceful place, that calm space for yourself to kind of rely on during the difficult times of year. Now, one year, let me grab this. Last year, I was looking for an ocean deck. Anna, hello. At least I can know who you are. She changed her name on me. Miss Jamie said this month is the third anniversary. Yes, so you totally get this, right? And again, it's not always loss, although I think it often is with holidays, but sometimes it's, a lot of other things that bring it up too. So I know that a lot of people have both highs and lows during the holidays. So I hope that this helps a little bit to at least think about how can you think about the things that might be helpful to you when you know you're going into a time that might be difficult, right? Instead of getting into the middle of it and being like you're drowning in the sea of emotions and whatever's going on, and then you're trying to grab for something. So instead of waiting till we're smack in the middle of it, kind of preemptively strike and say, okay, I know this is a difficult time for me, so I'm going to set some things in motion so that I can help myself do this. Now, this does not have to be just a deck. You should really be thinking about what's good for you. It's good for me to maybe reach out and talk to certain people. So set that up. Let somebody know I'm going into a difficult time. I may need like some couple extra let's meet up for coffee times. Start a project. I've got if you saw the video before this, I've got a paper crafting book started that's going to give me a lot of busy work to do over this time. Again, picking out a deck or something like that that's going to be supportive for you. Think about what helps you when you're in a difficult time and get that scheduled ahead of time, or think about that thing before you're in the midst of it. I think is always easier than being in the middle of it and, freaking out. So, okay. So I'm going to save this. I want to talk about oceans, but I'll save that for the end because it makes more sense. So I have a pile of decks here that I have used in this way. Thank you for the virtual hug, Miss Nikki. And I know it was like, I don't want to be depressing about this, but grief is something that if you're experiencing it, if you have experienced the loss of somebody that's close to you, if you have experienced the loss of a major break, a relationship, if you've never had those things and those things are difficult, but grief is something that we don't really want to talk about too much, right? So, and then the people that have experienced it feel uncomfortable talking about it because we don't want everything to be about our grief, right? So I always have a little bit of like, I know it's not all about Michael, or it's not all about my loss, but there's a lot of things that are. A, he's my son and we spent 23 years together, and B, I am completely affected both by being his mother and by the loss of him. And so it's a weird place, right? If we can't voice those things and talk about those things, that's not a very good atmosphere. I'm going to try it, Mr. Lloyd. Mr. Lloyd's in charge of me not burning my mouth, but I want to drink it. It's okay. I think we're good now. This is Cinnamon Sunset and it's delicious. Very fall. Oh, it's a little hot, a little bit hot. Okay. So I think we need to be able to talk about these things, and it doesn't have to be, let's all like get our Kleenex and bawl over everything. But I think we should be able to talk about these things because I think this time of year brings up a lot of this. And so I'm getting ready for this and having these conversations and saying, you know what, this is really hard. This is a hard time of the year for XYZ reasons, is important for it to be part of a normal conversation. I think that, especially in Western societies, that and I can't say that's the only thing I know, but I think there are some cultures that deal better with death and the cycles. It's a major part of our world. Like as humans, we live and we die. It is a massive part of us. And yet some cultures have a lot harder time of just sort of pushing that away and not wanting to deal with it, not wanting to discuss it than others. So, okay. So I'm so sorry, Miss Susan. On November 24th. I am so sorry. I wish you nothing but peace as you navigate this coming season for yourself. Hello to Sweden, Janet. We're talking about our people who have passed, and my ancestors are people who have passed. I have something wad right there that's kind of bugging me. I did my DNA, and so every so often Ancestry updates it with new. Now they have more and more information, and Sweden has been high on my list, but now Sweden is the top of my list, followed by Scotland. So I can't remember how much now on the top of my head, but I am a third Swedish, and a third of my DNA is Swedish, and almost I don't know, a quarter, maybe more than a quarter. I don't know. A bunch of it is Scottish. Those two have risen to the surface of my genetics. So, anyways, I love the new changes. Some people get really irritated with the changes when Ancestry does that. I love it. My whole family loves it. It's like, oh, okay, let's see where we land this time. Okay, I'm gonna try to get focused here. Don't distract me. Don't distract just by saying a hello from Sweden. It's like, hello there, you could be my ancestor. Or part of my family. We actually have large active families in Sweden. Okay. How do you send it? You order a kit and you spit in a tube and you send it in. Well, the Scottish, which makes sense. Well, I knew I had Scottish in me because my great grandmother, we thought was Irish, but she was actually full Scottish, and she went to Ireland, married my grandfather, and then they came to the United States. And so I knew there was Scottish in there, but Ancestry kind of had it all lumped together, I believe, with England and the UK, and now they've been able to extract that outward. Okay, don't get me started on Ancestry things. I will go off the rail. So let us pull back in to the topic at hand. It is not Janet's fault. She just said hello, but it just brought it to my mind. Okay, so Jamie says it's true. People have such a hard time. Yeah, it is. People have a really hard time with grief, and I do think that some of it is cultural. And some of it is, personal, just personality types. There's like a lot of things that are involved. But I know at least in the United States, I do feel like grief is often something that, people kind of cringe when they ask you, how are you? Because they don't really want to talk about it. Or I do think that's fair. Zelita, which is our other Jamie, I get confused over name changes. It's most of the time they don't know what to say, right? I will say for myself, and everybody's different. For myself, what I love is if you knew my son when he was alive, talk about him. Like, come up and say, I was thinking about Michael the other day and XYZ, I remember XYZ. Some people don't want to do that because they think that that's going to make you feel bad. There's not a day that goes by that I don't remember my son, and I don't remember the loss of my son. There's not a single day. So somebody bringing that up isn't going to make me feel bad. It actually makes me feel good because more than anything, I want him to be remembered. And then otherwise, I think that if you don't know the person, just saying, you know what, I know that this time of year is probably very difficult. I'm so sorry for your loss. If I can do anything, let me know. There's always something to say versus not saying anything. I think is always good. Just, I'm so sorry. Sorry is just the best thing to say, right? I'm so sorry for your loss. If I can do anything, let me know. And then leave it at that. Leave it to the person, right, to respond. Maybe they're going to say, oh, thank you for saying something. I've been really happy. They might start to talk about, where they're at. Or they might just say thank you and then kind of end it. And you probably know that they probably aren't in a position to really want to talk about it right that minute. You can judge that. But I think there's nothing ever to be hurt by saying I'm sorry for your loss and I'm here if you need me. I just think that there's nothing that can go wrong with that for the most part. So I don't should I skip it the pan. Yeah, Miss Izzy or Mr. Izzy. I guess I shouldn't say that. I don't know which, but Izzy. Yeah, you can't skip it. There's no skipping grief, right? You have to go through it and you have to work your way through it. That's for sure. Um, Okay, so I'm going to come back here to center. So my deck. So these are the first deck, I think. These are not in any particular order. And my hug decks are not going to be the same as your hug decks, right? Like what works for you isn't necessarily going to work for me. I don't find that I need a deep, shadowy deck. Again, I'm already feeling deep and shadowy. I don't need a deck like that. I don't need a deck to crack the whip and get me on my feet because it's just part of the. I really found that what I'm looking for is something that is just going to be supportive. It's going to be clear. It's going to, maybe get a little hard nosed now and again, but it's mostly just there to be supportive. And so the first deck that I found did this was the Idiosyncratic Tarot. Now, you can't get this anymore. I believe this is out of print, but I still wanted to show it because I think this was the first one that I ever used. I find that sort of inner child type decks work really well for me, sort of almost I don't want to say childish, but inner child, simple, sweet kind of energy, clean energy that's not too complicated. My energy and my emotions are already complicated. And I don't really need something, again, that's going to complicate things. So I often find that simple decks and or these kind of almost childlike inner child decks work really well for me during this time to just let me sink into them and work with it. So again, this isn't necessarily a deck you can get. So none of these decks I'm necessarily are saying go out and get this if you're grieving because this is going to work for you. I hope that it is more to do with I think it's more to do with the types of deck and thinking about the types of decks that might work for you. So that was, I think, the first time they did. Again, this is an out of print deck. And I'm not, again, the point of this isn't to get you to buy it, but just to talk about them. Another one along that vein is an oracle deck. This one is in print. This is called the Magical Times Empowerment Cards with the artwork by Jody Bergsma. I love Jody Bergsma's art. I have another one of hers that I also use in this way. But this one really hit the spot for me. This is the back of it. And I mean, look at that card. Strength. Absolutely love, kindness. But it does have, as sweet as it is, it has things like adversity. It has powerful cards like rebirth. It's just, this deck was just like on point, works really fantastic. I'm trying to get some variety of cards here. I love the dignity. There's humor in it. Love the mercy card. That came up a lot. Have mercy for yourself. Get up and dance. You can still dance in the midst of grief. Be gentle with yourself. So yeah, this one was a real hit for me. And I picked it up just because I like Jody Bergsma's art. And it just ended up being really fantastic. And it's one that I've gone back to, like if I'm feeling particularly sad or just kind of needing to have a little bit of a pick-me-up. It's one that I come back to quite a bit for that. So that was a really great oracle deck. Most of these are oracle decks. I tend to go towards oracle decks a little bit more for this, which is kind of funny because I'm not as much an oracle deck kind of person, but I do have a couple tarot decks, but I think I'll go through the rest of these oracle decks and then come to the tarot decks. If you did some of my live chats in the past, you'll recognize the Namaste deck. This was the deck that changed my mind about hug decks. So in the past, I wasn't a big fan of hug decks. I really didn't find them to be that useful. I'm like, okay, So you get a deck and you get a card that says, have a lovely day, or the universe, you're right where the universe wants you to be. That was irritating to me, right? It's the same thing. I couldn't read grief books because if the universe wants me to be right here in this wallowing pit of misery, then, screw the universe. I don't like you very much, right? I couldn't stand those kinds of things. And so I always thought, what is the point of something that literally just, when you pull it, all it's going to do is say, go you. They just weren't my favorite things. But when my grandmother was passing away, and she was 100 years old, so she lived an amazing life, had an amazing family build up around her in massive quantity because she had a lot of kids. And she was ready to go. She was at peace with going, but it was still difficult. She still was my grandmother. And it felt like, a core foundation of our family was disintegrating and unraveling. And it really hit me harder than I thought because it was an expected death. She was 100 years old. It was time for her to go. She lived a wonderful life, but it was still more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And so I had picked this up and found it to be really, really good. I love the simple artwork on the front. There's little blessings on the back that can sometimes be slightly annoying, but for the most part, it's comforting. And Lou makes up a very good point, and hopefully I made clear before. It's not that these decks are going to be your decks. There are different decks that are going to work for you. And the same thing for Do. I don't need to necessarily show a deck that you have, because I think what's important is for you to look at your decks and think about what deck would be supportive for you in those particular times, because that might look different than what mine might look. Like, I love this. So, blessed are you with everlasting peace beyond words or understanding. Blessed are you with tranquility and bliss. Blessed are you with the clarity that reveals the beauty of your soul and through which all appears as infinite. So, in a normal situation, things like that I would find annoying. But when you just need a hug, this deck did the trick for me, and it did the trick for a lot of people. We would pull these for hugs for people randomly in live chats, and that was continues to be one of my favorite hug decks because it made me rethink hug decks. Cinnamon break. Okay. Here's another one. Again, these are not in any particular order. This one I didn't, I wasn't expecting. This one you can get. I don't know how you're going to find this, Miss Nikki, because I can't remember. It doesn't have the card on it. It's like called Elizabeth. It's Elizabeth something. Oh, it's an Oracle cards, but it's like a 3-pack of cards. If Miss Jamie Kelly is still on here, she's probably going to know what these are. I really didn't expect to love this deck. Somebody had sent me, I think, maybe 2 of the packs, and then I had ordered the second pack. But I actually found this and continue to find this. Thank you, Jamie Kelly, Elizabeth on Earth. I continue to find this a very healing deck. I don't tend to like decks with just a whole bunch of random beautiful women in them. But she is a collage artist that really does an absolutely amazing job, I think, of evoking inner work. Let me find the one that I literally got this one card so many times. I didn't even know I was in the midst of needing to work with mother energy, mother loss energy. And I kept getting this card, which is the mother, but it's a very interesting representation of mother. And it's that tied to the moon, and there is something it gives me the goosebumps just looking at it. And I'm not even looking at it, I'm looking at it on the screen, and it still brings up energy. And this is part of 3 parts, Maiden, Mother, and Crone. But I spent a lot of time working with this card in conjunction with other cards that I found to be really important to my personal path of healing and dealing with grief. So this deck was a surprise for me because I would have not probably purchased it because I'm not a huge collage fan, and I'm not a huge fan, it's just lots of dresses and things like that, but it just hits the inner spot for me, and has definitely caused a lot of work to be done in a good, positive way. So that one is still one that I pull out when I really need to do some work, and I know I need to do some work. You can message her. I know people have messaged her in the past. I think she brings them out periodically. So I would, if it's one that you're interested in, I would just message her to see when maybe they would be available again. But that one's been very powerful. Another one that I love is called the very different artwork. This is called the Shamanic Healing Oracle cards. This is the only deck of cards that I say that the universe made me purchase, versus, me just wanting to buy a deck of cards, because I saw these and then I walked away from them because I thought the art was too primitive. And then I had a dream about them, and I woke up from a dream about them, and I was like, okay, but I really don't have the money for that right now. And then the money that I needed to purchase the deck came in almost instantly when I said that to myself, and I knew, okay, universe, I know I need to have this deck. This is going to be hard because it's glossy, but it's called the Shamanic Healing Cards by Michelle Matuzas, something like that. She has a second deck as well, and then she just came out with a third deck, which is I do have, as I'm pointing over to my pile of decks I need to do walkthroughs of, and I haven't really even opened up and worked with that one. But this one, so this is Forgiveness. It is very simple art. It's all good in that sort of primitive style, in that purposeful primitive. I don't say primitive as a negative, but as a descriptor. Feminine energy, transformation. I find this deck to be really, really powerful. And I use this a lot to get messages from past lives, messages from ancestors. That kind of supportive energy is how it feels, maybe because of the primitive art. But I found this to be really a hard-working deck. I know it's just so glossy. The second deck she made had beautiful matte cardstock. So I thought, oh, then the third one came out. No, it didn't have that beautiful matte. I wish this would come out again in matte cardstock, because the cardstock is, I think it's Rockpool Publishing. No, it's Schiffer. Schiffer cardstock is a kind of a crapshoot, but it's a deck that's worth the crappy cardstock. Okay, again, no apparent order here. Denise Lynn's Sacred Destiny cards, or Destiny Oracle, is amazing for this kind of work as well. I wish, there's some things that I think I have a walk through this deck up already. But what I like about this is not on the cards. So the cards have beautiful images and they have a keyword on the bottom. But if you read the guidebook, these are actually sacred landscapes. So it's like stepping into a particular energy of a landscape. I wish they had put the name of the landscape, then the image, then the keyword, or just get rid of the keyword and just give me the landscape. Obviously, after I've used it so much, I also have one trimmed down all the way. But I like them actually with the borders, because I really think about, okay, this is a landscape I need to step into right now. There is something for me to learn. There's something for me to gain by stepping into this particular landscape at the moment. And I have used this so much for client readings, for healing readings, for all kinds of things. Like, this is, to me, again, not really, I don't know why I picked this. I love this artwork. The artwork is gorgeous. Some of it's better than others, because it's kind of collaged art from, open source images, I would guess, is maybe, but I could be wrong about that. But I believe it's collaged art. But it is, Yeah, this is a fantastic deck. And again, the difference between this and some of the other decks is that it does ask you to step into a different space. So this is the space that you're in right now. Step through this doorway, step through this card, and enter into a different energetic space. Let this kind of shift your energy a little bit while you enter into that space. And I think it's really fantastic for that. So yeah, I do have one. So this is a copy that's full, but just so you can see it, this is how much I like this deck. I have 2 of them. And I trimmed this all the way down. I trimmed it all the way down and edged it in matte gold. And it's, oops, no, I think I've got it upside down. It's so beautiful trim. I mean, look at the colors just pop. And this just lets you, okay, I'm stepping into the mountains, into icy, cold, you know, up in the North Pole, clarity. I need a better space of clarity. I need to hone my focus on how far you can see across the desert, that different kind of clarity that comes there. It really does. I'm just trying to find some other great popper cards, but it just makes the color. I love this one. It just makes things pop. It's really beautiful, trimmed all the way down. So I have one of each, but I do like the borders as well. So, you know, that's why I have one of each. Again, it's a pretty cheap deck. And so I just picked up another one to trim it up because I like the deck. Okay. I saw somebody had said something about a deck. Healers of the Earth deck would be a great deck for that as well. I can definitely see that Essence 818. Okay, I think I just have one more oracle. And again, you know, pick any oracle that works for you. This is another Jody Bergsma deck. This is one of my favorite of my animal decks, and I have a lot of animal decks. This is Spirit of the Animals Oracle by Jody Bergsma. I work a lot with animal energy. It's something that is a daily working for me. And so, you know, it's not surprising that I find animal spirit energy to be very supportive. And her artwork is so stunning. That I can definitely pull one of these cards and get really supportive energy there. So this is a beautiful, just trying to get some varieties here, but this is definitely one of my favorite animal decks, and mostly because I just love her artwork. I don't really need the text on the bottom, but you know, sometimes, dear love, be gentle with yourself. You heal with the power of love. See the light in all things. Acknowledge your self-worth and grace. Sometimes we need to hear that. But also, deers are about being vulnerable and being alert to your vulnerability so that you can manage it. So, you know, if a card has text on it, use it as a space, but don't let it hinder you. Like, go off and understand what is it about that animal that could be saying something. I love sea otters. They're one of my favorite animals. I love the scorecard with the chickadees. So yeah, this one I come back to over and over and over and over and over again for this kind of energy. So there's that. Tarot wise, again, I tend to go for oracles, surprisingly, but I do have some that have over years become really big healer decks for me. One of them, if you know me, you won't be surprised, is Margaret Peterson Tarot. This is an absolutely amazing deck to me. And I know not everybody gets on with it because it is a bit abstract, although, you know, it's not pure abstract by any means. But this is just a stunning deck. The colors, the movement, there are things going on in there, as you can see that in there. The Emperor looks abstract, but if you look into the square, the structure of the Emperor, you will see the Emperor within the square. So there is actually things that are going on in this deck. You just have to look for it a little bit more. And it's more about color and movement than it is about a need for really, detailed imagery. Like, for example, here's the Five of Flames. If you look closely, there are figures in combat in there. So it's a stunning deck. And a lot of people say the same thing. It's kind of one of those things. People either love it or it's just not the deck for them, which is great because we shouldn't all love the same decks, or we would, love every deck and then we would be overwhelmed. But I love the Margaret Peterson Tarot. I use this a lot for my grief readings and for myself. Another one in that same category. So these 4 decks I'm going to show you right now are tarot decks that I personally use in my grief readings for people as well as in grief work for myself. So I've used them a lot in that capacity. The other one is the Moonchild Tarot. I love this deck. If you know me, I didn't get on overly well with the Star Child. It was just a little too, a little too modern, a little too pink. I don't know. It just wasn't, it felt too young for me, to be honest. The Moonchild is so gorgeous. It's warmer. It says Moonchild, but it's also got an earthier quality to it. And it just works really beautiful for grief work for me. Again, everybody's different in what is going to work for them. But I do come back to this time and again. I do use this in client readings for grief work. I just find it to be, it just works for me. And it, it's interchangeable for me with these 4 decks that I'm going to show are kind of interchangeable for the purpose that I use them. I love this Queen of Pentacles. The courts, especially the court women, are particularly amazing in this deck. The downside to this deck is that there is an overabundance of women versus men. Not necessarily masculine versus feminine. For example, this is a very masculine Morgan feeling female. But it's better than the Star Child in that category. And the color tone and everything of it makes it feel a little bit more neutral than overly feminine, like for me, the Star Child is. So that is the Moonchild Tarot. Now, the next 2 are new ones, but they have gone into that same category. So I did want to mention them. And I would also say this is the Shimmering Veil. The new edition has sparkled edges. I have a little video clip of comparing them, but this is my favorite. But this also, I know some of you probably have Scylla Conway's Davis of Creation. That's another one that works amazing as an oracle. But I find the Shimmering Veil Tarot to be very similar to the Margaret Peterson, very similar to Moonchild. It's very expansive. It's very open. It has just... I don't know. It works very well for healing, for grief work, for supportive energy. I'm just trying to get some variety of pictures. I love this Hanged Man. So you can see it's kind of got that similar, it's abstract, but this has scenes and figures in it. So it's not as completely abstract as her Davis of Creation is more completely abstract, which also works really well, I think. Somebody asked about the Healers. I saw that Healers of the Earth has got a new edition out in pre-order that's borderless. The one that I have is has borders on it, but I know it's coming out borderless. So, okay, I think I have hit on all of these. So for this year or last year, what I really wanted was an ocean deck. Really bad. Oh, this was the other tarot one. This is a Dream Dressed Shamanic Tarot. This is a deck that I trimmed, so don't take this. I took all the text off the bottom, so don't take this as what it would look like if you purchased it. I cut the bottom text off and the gilding off of it and re-edged it. This is stunning. This is another one that people think is abstract, but it's got a lot of intention going on. I think I did a walkthrough of this and put it up, or maybe scheduled. I can't remember anymore. This is a deck with a lot of intention and a lot of expansiveness to the what appears at first light to be abstract. I mean, it certainly is abstract, but there's a lot of intention behind it. It's not just slapping paint on paper. It is intentional use of color and movement and flow that is so powerful. That was the other one that was kind of in that category of decks. Hello, Miss Bunny Kisses. But last year, I wanted an ocean deck so bad for this time of year. I was hunting left and right. I didn't want just an ocean animal deck. There's a couple of those out there. I wanted an ocean deck. And I looked and I looked and I looked and I couldn't find anything. I ended up using this crystal. This is selenite. So crystals are also something that I work with a lot with grief work. Generally, it's these two crystals. This is a piece of obsidian that grounds me. So if I feel like I'm kind of shattering into a million pieces and feel like I'm floating off, the black crystal is obsidian. I have a piece of really dark smoky quartz. Something like that really tends to like bring the pieces back together. This piece of selenite, which I know just looks like a glowing ball. At least it looks like that to me through the viewfinder. It looks like I'm holding literally energy. Look at that. Doesn't that look like I'm holding like pure energy in my hand? Ooh. This ended up functioning for me as a grief deck. I never ended up finding the deck until afterwards, and that's what I'm going to use this year. But I ended up using this piece of selenite, or this sphere of selenite, ended up being that soothing presence and that pick up hug when I needed it kind of thing. I know it looks like I'm holding like I'm about to cast a spell of peace and healing out to all of you. I'm not going to throw it at my screen though. I am pure magic, and I'm going to send that outward into the universe for all of you. But at the end of that season, I found, and I did a walkthrough of this already. This is called The Ocean Oracle by Susan Mart. And these are pictures. These are from photographs that she took of the ocean. And I love this deck. I have used this since I purchased it, but I've been kind of saving it for this year. And this, hello, Miss Crone's Bones. I've kind of been saving it as this is going to be my deck for this season. And so it has imagery of the ocean, but it's not just like animals of the ocean. It has like the lighthouse for clarity. It has seagull here. It has sea glass for transformation from something sharp and broken and discarded into something that is beautiful and that you can use it in art projects. That is a fantastic card for, again, grease work. I don't particularly like the backs. I don't like names of decks on the backs of cards. It's not my favorite, but I do like the water. Like if she just took the text off, it would be perfect. But I do love this deck so much. The buoy for salvation. I just need to grab that buoy, right? The driftwood, representing the journey that you're on. The drifting and shifting sandbar. Sometimes you feel like you can get your feet on that sandbar, right? And sometimes that sandbar is way out and you can't, or way away from you and you can't quite get it there, get to it. The Nautilus. So I love it because it's not, a lot of the decks that I was finding were just like sea animals. Not that there's anything bad about that, but I wasn't looking for that. I wanted energy of the ocean and water and movement. And I really love this little deck. So that's the deck that I'm going to be using this year as my Oh, here's the ocean card, eternal vastness. Oops. I know it's got a bit of a glare there, but that's the deck that I'm going to be using for my go-to healing deck when I need it over the course of this season. That's the one of course I can grab other ones. If I need an animal hug, I'll grab an animal hug. Let's grab an animal hug for all of us. while we're at it, let's grab an animal hug for the whole people who are still awake at this random live chat. I really didn't think for a minute there it was like, oh, it's just gonna be Patrick and I think we lost Patrick, and then Miss Lou popped on. I thought, okay, well, we'll just Maurice is gonna fall asleep. I'm good at putting people to sleep, I have been told. Okay, let's see what animal we get to support all of us. Oh, Patrick's here cutting paper. I sucked him into the paper crafting world, and now he's cutting paper. I just switched my daily decks to Autumn and Halloween. I'm going to do, that's the next random live chat I'm going to do. I have to pull all the decks out. I just needed to put these decks away because my new class starts tomorrow and I need my desk space. So I knew I had to get these off of my desk. And then I did want to pull like fall decks and things like that out to do a video on my favorite fall decks. And so I thought I better just get on here, get this cleared off. And then I'll pull like my favorite fall decks and I'll do a live walk, kind of go through fall decks as well. But first step was clearing these off of my desk. But animals never go away for me. They're in all seasons and in all circumstances. Animals and ancestors, they don't go anywhere. Okay. Well, let's see what we have for us today or tonight. Eagle mastery. We can master this coming season. Look how majestic he is. This is why I love this deck so much. Look at that. Let's see what it says. You are on a spiritual journey beyond the sky. Let go of the past and soar. You are guided by the winds of spirit. Your wisdom inspires the world. But for me, eagles are about clarity, right? It's about sometimes, because we're talking about grief work here and healing work here. For me, the eagle is really, if I get it, which I did, just got that card for myself and for you guys. When an eagle comes up in this context, it tells me that sometimes, right, when we're in the midst of grief, when we're in the midst of a difficult cycle, when we're in the midst of whatever turmoil that we're in, sometimes when we're in that space, it's really hard to really see what's going on, right? Because we feel like the whole world is against us or nothing is going right, or we have all this, we're in this like bubble of turmoil, and it's very difficult to really see what's going on. Whereas if the card comes up that says, okay, let's get a little eagle energy here. We've got to pull ourselves up and out of it enough so that we can see that bubble might just be right around, around us. And actually, there's a lot of things that are going on that aren't all bad, that there are some things that are good. There is a way forward. There is a way out. This isn't going to last forever. The eagle says, get yourself up above that kind of bubble of difficulty and turmoil, and so that you can see a little bit more clearly, so that you can find a little bit of focus that's going to help you to navigate through that and see that it may not be quite as all-encompassing. The whole world is probably not surrounded in blackness. It's probably a bubble around you that you've just got to work your way through. So something like the eagle coming up for this, for me, is about that. Like, get up and above it get a bigger picture, see your way forward, one step at a time, but just kind of get up. And also there's that sense of if you watch eagles flying, I don't know if you have eagles in your country, but if you've ever seen eagles flying, it's amazing to see, and the height that they're in, and how free and how clear, and how the air must be so crisp and cold and just amazing up there. And it must be so quiet up where they're at. And so kind of getting yourself to that space of just cold air, brushing all of the fog out of your brain, the wind under your wings, and just a bit of silence coming in can be very helpful. So yeah, I think it's an amazing card for this topic, but it's an amazing deck for this topic. It really is one of my favorite, all-time favorite animal decks, and I definitely use it for healing and support all the time. So there you have it. I have, how many have I bought? I actually haven't bought many this month. I don't know what I bought this month. I have absolutely no idea. So I haven't bought too many. I've had some come in from Kickstarters that I bought last year, but I don't think I've bought a lot of new decks. But the name of that deck was The Spirit of the Animals. Hello, Miss Rachel. And thank you for saying that you like my channel, Mr. or Mrs. or Miss Optimist. I've got to stop with the Miss and the Misses, because some names I can't tell what they are, but it's good manners to say Ms. So-and-so, but I think it gets me in trouble more times than not. Okay. So hopefully that helped a little bit to see. These are just some of the things over the years that I've used. And again, remember that yours might look very different than mine. Yours might be, like Miss Lou said, fallen angels, or something that is completely would be, to me, completely random. But for you, it puts you in the place that you need. The point of these decks are to put you in a space where you can better deal with the turmoil or the grief work that you're going through. Good night, Mr. Dew. Or keep seeing Drew, and it's not Drew, it's Dew. So good night, Dew. Hello, Sue. Good night, Dew. Hello, Sue. So yeah, I think the point is to think about what is going to help you. And the other thing is to not just think about decks, right? We don't have to have decks for this, but look through your collection of decks and say, what could be supportive to you before you're in the middle of something? Do you need to stock up on your favorite teas? I make sure I have Candy Cane Lane tea and Cinnamon Sunset in full stock for going into difficult seasons, because I know that I'm going to be drinking a lot of tea. And, just think about the things that you're going to need to schedule. One good hike up to the woods once a week or something like that. Schedule that in. Preemptively, the name of this video should be Preemptively Striking Difficult Times, because that's kind of the point. Oh, thank you, Miss Nikki. You didn't have to do that. So, yeah, I'm just preemptively strike what you know is going to be difficult, I guess, is my point. And I definitely agree with you, Sherry. I think all decks can be supportive. I think we just lean to certain ones. And I definitely don't think the Gypsy Witch. Are you talking about the one in the little orange box, Sherry? Because that one, I'm not sure if that one can be supportive. I'm not sure that one can necessarily be very supportive. That's one of those decks. I still have mine. I kept it because just for historical references, but it's not my favorite. I don't like the colors, and again, it's because that was what was easy to print at the time, the printing press. But the colors seem harsh, and so it just, to me, just reads really harsh. I know we do so appreciate Miss Nikki. But some people actually love that, because I have said before, like, it's not my favorite deck. And people will stand up in great defense of the Gypsy Witch deck. So, it's different strokes for different folks, right? Miss Sherry's going to keep putting it out in the sun and hoping it can absorb some sunlight, apparently. Maybe you need to put it with your best, sweetest, kindest deck and kind of put them together to hang out together for a little while and see if you can even it out, its energy out a little bit. Yeah, I agree. I think it can be spot on, but I have prettier, nicer decks that can be spot on. Okay. Miss Lloyd, my tea is now fully favorite animal ducks. I'd say ducks instead of decks. Nothing like a good animal duck. It might corrupt your healing one, and then you're going to end up getting a healing one. You know what's another deck that I didn't bring out here is the Guardian Angel Tarot by she who shall not be named in this community. I'm totally blanking on her name, which is probably good, right? But anyways, that deck is my grandmother deck. My grandmother was a beautiful, wonderful, the best example of a good Catholic woman. And so that deck reminds me of my grandma, but it is very sweet. It is very loving energy, but it's also have given me a lot of kick in the butt in a kind, gentle way, but still like, all right, time for you to get moving and get up and get going. So it's both, it's going to, grandmotherly tell me like it is, but, give me a cookie while it does it. Kind of feel to that one. So yeah, that one, that is a good one there. Yes, by Doreen Virtue. I don't think her name is probably even on it anymore. I think didn't she have all of her name removed off of everything, and it's maybe just I can't remember who the guy that she does them with, like Valentine or somebody Valentine. Rudolph Valentine. I'm probably wrong about that. I really don't have many of their decks, but I believe all of her name is off of them and his name is on it. But it is called the Guardian Angel Tarot. And in terms of the grief spreads that I do, truthfully, for myself, when I'm in this phase and I'm doing, it's usually just pulling 3 cards. I literally just pull 3 cards and say, what's your message? And then move about my day. I don't really have a specific spread that I use for that. A good 3 card, to me just kind of says what it needs to say. And then I, because it's usually just getting a pick me up, getting a hug, getting a little bit of clarity, just kind of recentering. And so I do a lot more personal readings for myself, especially in December. I do almost one a day probably, but I usually just throw 3 cards down. What's that insta hit? What is that one? Oh dear, don't spend $100 on, well, I mean, sure, buddy, spend whatever you want, but it used to be a pretty cheap deck. Susan said, for those who like angel decks, Kyle Gray has a new one called Angel Guide Oracle I bought last month, and I really like it. Very supportive without being cheesy. I haven't seen that one, Susan. I'm not generally one to do angel decks, but I do, when I do get, could go in the same category for me by Kyle Gray is Angels and Ancestors. This is extremely supportive and works really, really well also. It's one of my absolute favorite Oracle decks. And it's very empowering, but also really fantastic energy as well. And certainly could go in this category. And it's a mass market deck that's pretty easy and cheap to pick up. But yeah, I love this deck, but I haven't seen his next one because, again, it's not that I don't like angels. I mean, that would be a really ridiculous thing to say, but I see angels in a different way than a lot of the angel decks out there do. And so I don't tend to lean towards them. Exception being the Guardian Angel Tarot, because it reminds me of my grandma. So it's good to get a thumbs up from somebody who does use them. So, okay, well, I'm going to wrap this up because I was trying to keep this right about an hour for people because, I can't do a video under an hour. And but I do want this to be able to stay a little bit succinct to the topic at hand so that somebody can watch it back and maybe get some ideas. But don't get stuck on just the ones that I've picked because think about what's going to help you the best. And the big takeaway, hopefully, from this video is to be preemptive about it. We generally know, like we're pretty intuitive, perceptive human beings. And I think we generally get a feel for when our rhythms are, when we're going to struggle, when we're going to have difficulties, and then make sure that you kind of set some things in place for yourself to be supportive through those, to kind of help you before you get in the midst of it, because it's so much harder. They always say that about pain medication, right? If you're in the midst of extreme pain, it's a lot harder for the pain medicine to kick in than if you kind of are prepared for it and take it as you're supposed to be taking it. Same thing with, I think, self-care and healing. Like if we can preemptively do it and get it, into our system before we're in the midst of the chaos, we probably have a better shot at managing the difficult time. So I wish all of you an absolutely wonderful fall. I am loving the fall energy coming in because I adore fall. And for anybody out there who is having a difficult time or knows that they're going into a difficult time with the holidays, I'm really sending you a lot of peace. I completely understand. It is, I think, perfectly normal. I think many people, if not the majority of people, have some sort of struggles around the holidays. Sometimes it's just seasonal shifts. Sometimes it's the chaos and the stress of the holidays. Sometimes it's things like grief and loss or difficult family dynamics. There's so many different reasons why this time of the year can be a burnout time, and especially after this year. Like 2020, I know poor Lucy's got spring energy. She's like, I don't care about this fall energy. Miss Lucy's rolling in the good weather. So I should say Northern Hemisphere, but some people probably have a difficult with spring as well. If you're having a difficult time, take a breath, enjoy what you can enjoy, step away when you need to step away, and take care of yourself. So I will see you guys all later, and have a great night or morning for some of you.